In this tutorial, you'll see how Maxbot captures user data, validates it, reuses it in the conversation, and stores it for later use. In this tutorial, you'll learn how Maxbot collects structured user data inside a conversation. We'll review data entities, build a flow that captures user information, test validation, and then see how the collected data appears in user data. Let's start with data entities. In Maxbot, data entities define the pieces of information the chatbot can capture, validate, and store during a conversation. Some system entities, like email, are already available by default. While these built-in entities cannot be deleted, you can still customize their validation messages to make the chatbot more user-friendly. Save the change so the updated validation message is used during the conversation. Maxbot also lets you create your own custom entities. This is useful whenever you want to collect information that goes beyond the built-in fields. Here, I'm creating a custom entity called country. Each entity also has a variable name. This is what allows the captured value to be reused dynamically inside bot messages later in the flow. Now I'll add a validation rule. For country, alphabet-only validation makes sense because we want text, not numbers or symbols. I'll also add a validation message. This is what the chatbot will send when the user enters something that does not match the expected format. Now the custom entity is ready and can be used inside the conversation flow. Next, let's move into the conversation flow, where these entities will actually be used. In the flow editor, Maxbot lets you design each conversation step and decide how user replies should be captured. The first message asks for the user's name. In this flow, each step collects one piece of information and saves it into a matching entity. Now I'll define what Maxbot should do with the user's reply. Here I choose the option to save the user's reply into a data entity, and I link it to the name field. The next step asks for the user's email address. Again, I configure the reply, so Maxbot stores the answer in the correct entity. This time, the reply is saved into the email entity, which already has validation rules attached to it. The third step collects the user's phone number. Just like before, I set the next step to save the user's reply into a data entity. This reply is linked to the phone entity, so the number can be validated and stored properly. Now I'm using one of the captured values directly in the conversation. By typing the @ symbol, Maxbot shows the available captured variables. This makes it easy to personalize messages using real user input. Here I select the name variable so the bot can address the user directly. The message now becomes personalized. Maxbot uses the captured name and then asks where the user is from. Now I'll configure the reply, so the answer is saved into the custom country entity we created earlier. This is where the custom entity becomes useful. Maxbot can capture not only built-in fields, but also new fields you define yourself. At the end of the flow, I can add a final confirmation message, or simply end the conversation. For this tutorial, I'll end the conversation here so the captured data can be reviewed clearly afterward. Now let's test the experience. This is where Maxbot shows how data capture and validation work in real time. I'll go through the flow as a user and provide the requested information step by step. During the test, I intentionally enter an invalid email first. Maxbot immediately shows the validation message, then allows the conversation to continue once the correct value is entered. Now let's connect this flow to a chatbot project so it can be used on the website. Creating a project links together the flow, the chatbot identity, and the page where the chatbot should appear. I'll give the project a name that makes its purpose clear. Next, I select the topic we just configured, so the project uses this data collection flow. Then I choose the agent that will represent the chatbot in the widget. Now I select the page where this chatbot project should be active. Maxbot lets you control exactly where the chatbot appears by assigning the project to specific pages. Once everything is connected, Save the project to make the chatbot available on the selected page. Now I can open the page and try the chatbot in its real context. Finally, let's review the collected information in user data. This is where Maxbot stores the entries captured during the conversation. You can view, edit, and delete the entries in the action column. Here, I open the latest entry to review the data captured by the chatbot. I can click the star button to highlight it or mark it as read. This view makes it easy to inspect the captured fields and confirm that the conversation data was saved correctly. You can move through the saved details to review the full conversation record and collected values. You now have a complete data collection flow in Maxbot, from entity setup to live testing and saved user entries.